What's up, everybody? You have just entered Correlation Nation, the one and only place you need to be if you're looking to get the best breakdowns in the space. Do yourself a favor, subscribe to the page. Do me a favor, like the video. Today, we're going to be looking at Dana White's Contender Series. This is week number 3. Let's run this. All right, so we have 5 bouts, pretty typical for the Contender Series. And the first one we have is Darion Abbey going against Donte Johnson. Now, the first thing I want to look at is just, we're going to look at the lines. I haven't really looked at the lines before making these videos, so I actually did not do any of that when breaking down my fighters or whatever. But you will see that Donte Johnson is only 6 foot tall, weighed in at 209, okay? Darion Abbey is 6'6", so there's a pretty big size discrepancy here. And, yeah, let's just go ahead. We'll jump over to the actual notes that I have on these guys. And Donte Johnson is, we have him right here. Give me just one second. He is a light-footed pressure striker. He uses a lot of movement, lateral movement as well. He seems relatively aggressive. Striking looks okay. He likes to throw a right low kick from both stances. Uses lots of body movement with a high guard. He's an explosive striker that commits to his punches. That's a plus and a minus because, one, yes, he's powerful, but he does tend to extend himself when doing so. He will engage in the clinch. Takedown ability is in question, but he is an active clinch striker. He has vicious ground and pound if he finds his way to the top position. And his opponent, Darion Abbey, this guy, before going on about the breakdown, I do want to mention that, when I was filming this guy or studying his tape, I noticed that, earlier in his career fighting at heavyweight, he was a bit fluffy, eventually worked his way down to light heavyweight, looked fairly lean, especially comparatively, and then he worked his way back up to heavyweight. And this guy looks totally different. This guy's body transformation is pretty wild. You should check that out. So props to him for doing that. And onto the breakdown. He's a fairly light-footed striker. He seems to have pretty nice movement with decent range management in the first. He becomes pretty flat-footed after. So technically, or he's a technical kickboxer. He has a solid backside low kick. He has a nice front kick and a teep kick. Decent front side low kick, but he will throw it naked. He has a decent left jab and a right cross, but doesn't always use his length. He will sit in the pocket where he has shown his chin. Seems to have a bit of a ground game. He scrambles and doesn't accept bottom. Seems to fade pretty bad, but will fight through fatigue. So I think this is a pretty interesting fight. We've seen that Donte Johnson's actually a pretty big favorite. And I don't know if that's really deserved, honestly, in my opinion. Not only the size discrepancy is going to be a pretty big factor, I think, in this fight, or it could be, but also I just think that Darion's actually the more technical fighter. I would say that I think that he's the better fighter. The issue really comes down to his chin. So I'm going to side with Darion Abbey in this fight. I think that with his footwork and everything and the work that he's put into the game, because I really do believe that, like I said, the body transformation in itself really goes to show how hard this guy's been working. And that's not something you do in a short amount of time. That's something that he's been working on for a long time. Now, you can't really do anything about the chin, but I'm going to trust that he's going to be able to keep this guy at the end of his punches and hopefully walk away with a win. Now, I will say that you can't be too confident in that. And the thing that I would probably be most confident in with this fight is the under, or like fight doesn't start round 3. That would be my That would be the way I lean. Like, I think that's the most likely outcome of the fight. I don't think this goes to the cards. I just don't think there's any way it does. It could. We're just going to have to wait and see. I'm going to take Abbey. He's an underdog. But I think the most likely outcome is it just doesn't see round 3. And then we're going to move on to the next bout. So, in our next bout, we do have Cristian Perez going against Manoel Sousa. Okay, so this is an exciting fight, in my opinion. I think this should probably be the main event. I think these are the 2 best fighters on this card when you look through here. I mean, the Marcio, Barbosa, and Damon Wilson, those guys look relatively good too. But the main event, the Trent Miller and Ryan Gandra or whatever, I don't know about that. That's not something... You know, I filmed these guys, and I wasn't really too impressed with either, to be just 100% honest with you. And then I was looking at, down here, this was something that just caught my eye, is that you can see that Victor Costa was not able to fight due to visa issues. And I'm wondering, I haven't even looked at this guy, but I'm wondering who this guy is. Because maybe he was the main event, you know? I mean, I would say that was probably the most likely case, is this guy was supposed to be the main event, really. Yeah, and he was kind of being set up to succeed, and now you have these guys, and I don't know who to pick. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I don't know. Anyways, Cristian Perez, Manoel Sousa, and let's pull these guys up. The first thing we will do is we'll look at this. It looks like Perez is the underdog. I think it's... I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe he should be. But I think it's a competitive fight. Or, I mean... skill for skill, I think it's the most competitive fight. But as far as how the fight plays out, I mean, it could play out a lot of different ways. Because Cristian Perez is a violent... I have violent there because he just seems like a violent fighter. But fairly light-footed pressure fighter. He shows some bounce with evasive footwork. Range management's not the greatest, but he has a nice backside low kick. Hand speed isn't great, but when he strikes long and straight, it seems pretty effective. And he blends his striking together pretty well. You know, he throws in knees and kicks and punches. You know, he's kind of able to blend it all together pretty well, and it looks pretty nice. Seems to have a nasty ground game. He scrambles, floats, control the ground and pound, and will hunt submissions. Now, his opposition, Manoel, this guy is fast, explosive athlete. You talk about quick twitch. I mean, that should be his middle name. This guy is a light-footed pressure striker, lots of movement, range management seems pretty solid. Striking is okay. He has a solid 1-2, but overall pretty wide. It's pretty wide. You know, he's a pretty powerful guy. He's aggressive submission grappler. He scrambles well, attacks the arm, and an arm triangle. It's a tough fight, you know. I mean, I think anytime you're going against a guy like Sousa, this guy, his athleticism is, I mean, it's through the roof, honestly. You watch this guy, he is fast and explosive for real, and he carries a pretty good punch. Now, his striking is not the most technical. Like, you know, I mentioned, it's a bit wide. But he's really well-versed. Seems to be able to take a punch pretty well. He doesn't really... I mean, he seems like he can fight hard for a good amount of time. But... this one's tough. This is like, I think, in my opinion, this is one of the tougher fights to try to like break down and understand how it's going to play out. Because I think that Perez probably, A little bit more technical on the feet, but with the speed discrepancy, you know, it's almost like Sousa could throw a wide punch and get there just as quick as Perez could with a straight one. You know, and it's like they say, you know, timing beats speed. But in this case, it almost seems like a wash. And we won't really know until we see it. You know, I'm going to go into this feeling like Sousa's the faster fighter. He could definitely throw flurries and maybe even just kind of overwhelm Perez. But I haven't really seen Perez knocked out or even really hurt. And that's not to say he can't be. I think anyone can be, especially when you got, you know, speed and power like Sousa does. So this is tough. It'll be really, really interesting to see. And then the other part of it is that, you know, Perez gets it to the ground and, you know, Sousa's going to be attacking submissions and stuff from there as well. So it's tough. You know, part of me wants to go with the dog on this and Perez. But I don't know. These guys are both really good. This is like I love it and I hate it at the same time. I think it's a fun matchup. I just hate that these two guys had to fight each other to try to earn a UFC contract because, you know, there's a world certainly where this goes on to be a dogfight and they both show out and look really, really good in moments and I guess could potentially both earn a contract. But, you know, it's just as likely that one of them wins in a dominant fashion and makes the other guy look kind of bad. And I don't think either of these guys really are bad. I think they're both really, really fun fighters. You know, I seen Perez first. I think I taped him first. And I thought, oh yeah, this is another great Mexican fighter. This will be fun. And then I watched Sousa, and I'm like, oh man, this guy's absolute dynamite. I mean, he really is. So, I don't know. I guess I'm going to lean with Sousa just because I feel like he's just more dynamic. And I think that he's dangerous in more areas. Or, it's tough. I'm actually not sure. I'm going back and forth in my head. I'm trying to think, like, what do they want to do? Because, again, that's kind of the point of this is, like, what do they want to do? Perez wants to grapple, I think. Generally, kind of wants to get into a position where he can grapple a little bit. You know, threaten with submissions, chokes, whatever. And he wants to be in control, though. He wants to be in a position where he can control, float, and use his ground and pound. You know, one thing that I don't have in here is he does throw some really, really nice knees. And with Sousa, I mean, he only has to catch you one time. That's the kind of speed and power that guy has. He catches you one time, and it's... Oh, this is so tough. These guys are no joke, for real. So... All right, so I'm going to say Sousa, and I'm going to say maybe he gets a submission. But I don't like it. You know, like I said, a part of me really wants to go with the dog on this. I do think Cristian Perez is a solid prospect in his own right. And I'm not going to be surprised if he weathers the storm and he mounts a comeback. So it'll be really interesting. I like to see these guys at weigh-ins. This is a fight I have really like almost zero confidence in. Stylistically, there's not one thing that says this or that. So I'd be really, really interested in what other people have to say about it. Maybe they've seen something that I missed. You know, do me a favor. Why don't you, if you have an opinion on this, leave it in the comment section below. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next fight. This is a fight I would just kind of try to stay away from. Mostly because I'm not exactly sure how it's going to play out. You know, not an over, not an under, not a side. I mean, to me, it's really, really difficult. And I'm just going to enjoy it. But I will definitely be listening to see what other people have to say about it. And maybe, you know, maybe a little bit of outside noise can help solidify my own thoughts and opinions. Now we're going to move on to the next bout. The next bout we have Alik Lorenz going against Abdul-Rakhman Yakhyaev. Yeah, well, that's a mouthful, and I done the best I could. Let's look at these guys, how they match up size-wise. It looks like Alik Lorenz is a huge underdog here, 128, 124. Frame-wise, they look about the same. You know, you got a 6'3" to a 6'2". Not sure on the reach for Yakhyaev, so let's see him at weigh-ins. Now, I do have a more confident opinion on this fight. Let's go to the breakdowns real quick, see what they say. Alik Lorenz is... This guy is a flat-footed pressure striker. He seems pretty aggressive. Has a pretty quick front-side front kick. Flashes a decent left jab and follows with a heavy overhand right. He has a reaching guard, which is not very good. Active clinch striker. Digs to the body, throws knees. I've seen decent takedowns on film, but have real questions around his ground game. And then the other side of it, we have Yakhyaev. And this guy, slightly light-footed. He shows a bit of bounce, but not much technique. Has solid kicks from range. He has a front and side kick, both legs. Boxing seems undeveloped. Will throw a right cross overhand to get to the clinch. Seems to have pretty good takedown ability. He's a tireless worker. Good pressure. Control seems solid. Heavy ground and pound. Positionally sound. That's like question because, I don't know. I've seen him kind of put himself in some weird spots. Now, I don't know that that's going to be really an issue in this particular matchup because I think Alik Lorenz is a guy that's going to try to knock you out, in my opinion. He's a guy that's going to come forward. He's going to be aggressive. And he's going to try to set up that overhand right. Or get you in the clinch and throw, you know, punches, you know, to your gut. And he'll really dig to the body. So my lean on this is I'm going to go with the control guy in Abdul. But I will say that there's a couple ways you could look at this. I think that one, and this probably isn't going to be a very good number just because he's such a big favorite, but I do think that Abdul decision, no action is your most likely landing spot. Now, I can't imagine you're going to get a good number on that with him already being like a minus 600 or minus 1,000, even worse. I can't imagine you're going to find a good number on that. But let's see. Yeah, I mean, this guy's never been to the cards. And this guy, yeah. I'm not sure what other kind of angle you can find on this fight. It's really hard to gauge Alik because Alik hasn't really fought a ton of good fighters. He has fought the other guy from the contender, or that's fighting on a Contender Series tonight, Darion Abbey, and he lost to him via KO. But to be fair, most of these guys aren't very good. So it's really, really hard to gauge. Because basically, if I thought Alik could survive all the grappling, or if like I felt confident that he could survive a lot of the grappling and give himself a real chance on the ground, or like to get back up, then I think that you could look at the Alik. The Alik finish no action, but obviously there's a world that Yakhyaev finishes Alik. So that might not be the most confident or the most like wise play. Because I think that's a real possibility. You know, Yakhyaev on the feet. I see this guy get touched up a little bit, which makes me think that Alik could definitely win this by. He could win it by knockout. I just don't know that he's going to be able to stop the takedown. Nah, there ain't no way. Yep, we're going to Abdul-Rakhman. There ain't no way that Lorenz is going to be able to stuff the takedowns over and over and over again. And this is a guy that's what he's going to do. I think he's I don't know. We're going to take him, and yeah, I don't know. I'll listen to some other people. I feel pretty good about that side. I just know that there's not really any value on it. I mean, it is what it is. You know, we don't make the matchups. We just break them down the best we can and move on. You know, last week we done really well. I think we had one of those fights wrong, which was nonetheless, who cares? Let's move on. The next bout we have Marcio Barbosa going against Damon Wilson. Let's see how these guys match up. Looks like Barbosa's quite a bit younger, 5'7" to 5'9". Yeah, Damon's probably a little bit longer. And he's a pretty big underdog at plus 260. Now, I'm not sure that those are super accurate lines, but nonetheless, let's look at these guys and see how they match up in our notes. So, Marcio Barbosa is a fairly light-footed striker. He shows good movement, uses measured pressure. Hold on. Okay. Measured pressure, range management. Striking looks pretty nice. He carries a high guard at range. Nasty backside front kick. Solid 1-2. Can throw separately. He tends to throw a lead hook to both levels. Once he gets in the pocket, he throws flurries of nasty power hooks. Gasser, I think he is. Ground game is unknown. I did see him, I think, jump Gilly once, and I think he got it even, but on the other side of it, we got Damon Wilson. He's a fairly light-footed pressure striker. He shows some bounce, but tends to plant his feet. He has poor range management. Switches stance and leads with a variety of kicks from range, low, deep, and side. He carries his hands low. He has a solid left 2-level jab, a clean 1-2. Likes to throw a lead right uppercut on entries. He has a nasty step and knee. Will utilize Muay Thai clinch. Same knees. Takedown defense seems solid. He uses solid sprawl, digs underhooks. But he can be taken down. Get up game seems pretty solid. Yeah, this is another one that I don't know. I remember when I first started watching film on Damon, I wasn't that impressed with his striking, and I certainly know that there's holes there. Like, there's certainly holes there. But I don't know. I think he's a solid dog. I really do. Neither of these guys are perfect. They're really not. Let's look at these guys and what they've been knocked out once. Tobias. This guy's been knocked out twice. I think I've seen the Luis Felipe one. I think he's just a gasser. Honestly, a lot like that guy we seen last week go against... Who was it? Oh, Hockett. A lot like that. Similar style, just all gas, no brakes, kill or be killed, you know what I mean? And in his career, I would say he's probably more explosive or not. So in his career, he's been able to win at a pretty high clip, put guys away, get them out of there. But in this spot, I don't mind the dog. I'm going to lean with the dog on this. But I will also say that under 1.5, I think you go with the under. And honestly, this fight probably ends in the first round. That would be my take on it. But I don't mind the underdog in this, Damon Wilson. And I'd be really, really interested to see what other people think. But I do feel pretty confident that this goes under 1.5, and I would so much so that I think that it could even just end in the first round. And so that would be the way I'd be really looking at this fight. But I'm going to go with Damon Wilson. I think he has a shot to just kind of weather the storm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And then we got Trent Miller going against Ryan Gandra. Okay. The main event. The one we've all been waiting for. Psych. Trent Miller. This is, let's see, 5'11", 6'1", both 184 pounds. I don't know. I'd have to see the active lines. I don't know how accurate these are. I can't imagine they're that accurate, but maybe they are. Let's see. All right. Trent Miller is fairly light-footed. He's fairly light-footed. He shows a bit of bounce with decent footwork and some range management. Seems to have very basic striking skill set. He loads up with loose, powerful punches. Seems a bit sluggish, lazy guard. Some head movement, though. He has shown some takedown ability. He's just strong, but questions around his positional awareness. He does seem to fade after the first. Will fight through fatigue, but at what level? And then his opponent is a fairly light-footed striker, shows decent bounce and measured pressure. Does tend to be pretty plotty. Don't see much technique in his striking. Blitzes forward with wild looping hooks. Volume looks good in spurts. Takedown ability doesn't look very good, but does tend to find himself on top with a bit of ground and pound and some control. We'll look for arm triangle from top position. Fades after first, but fights through. Yeah. Like I said, I don't... This fight is... no disrespect to these guys, because I know that, this is their dream. They really want to be in the UFC. I honestly don't know that either of these guys are UFC level. And just, that's my opinion. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I hope I am for their sake. I hope whoever wins goes on to, prove me wrong and have a great career. But neither of these guys have very good striking. Neither of these guys, if I had to pick, I think Trent Miller has, relatively decent footwork. But, his hand speed's not great. The best thing he's got going for him is his footwork and his power. And his strength. But honestly, he's kind of going to... I think he's really going to just kind of meet his match in a lot of that. He's going to find a lot of other guys that are just as strong as him, and he's lacking in a lot of the other departments. So, and then Gandra, this guy, like I said, he just... Yeah, he get knockouts thrown the way you do, but you get knocked out too doing that. It's not some crazy wild winning recipe. It's it's kill or be killed is what it is, and the fact that neither of these guys have cardio. Either somebody in this is getting hit with a big shot, a big wild looping power punch, and getting put to bed, or they both survive the first round and then they're both so tired and gassed that it just becomes a sloppy, boring fight. That's what I think is going to happen. Is it's going to be one of those two things. Somebody's going to get hit with a big wild punch and go down, and they look like $1 million, kind of, or they survive it and it just turns into a freaking slug, I wouldn't even call it a slugfest. It'd be like a literal turtle race. So, let's take another quick look at it and see what we can find. See if we can find an angle. Ain't nothing to like about this. Nothing to like about it at all. 8-2 and 7-1, and then he could be 8-2 and it'd be 9-2. I don't know what's this number 14 and number. Where? Let's see. He's been submitted twice. Face crank and an arm triangle. So there's a chance that old Gandra just gets the arm triangle, maybe. I mean, it's an angle. I mean, I guess you can look at it. I mean, look at who all these people are, though. I don't know. I'll have to watch the weigh-ins and see what I really think about these guys, how they match up. I'm not really excited about this fight. I feel like this is a bit of a letdown when I look at it, honestly. I don't know. That's a volatile fight too. I wouldn't even. I don't know that I'll find an angle on it. I don't know that there is one. Be careful with this one, guys. For real, be careful with this one. This is terrible. But if we have to pick something, let's look at it. And I'm thinking that let's look at his footwork again. Trent Miller, fairly light-footed, shows a bit of bounce with decent footwork and some range. That's a plus. Seems as a very basic striking skill set. He loads up with loose, powerful punches. Seems a bit sluggish. He has a lazy guard with some head movement. I mean, these guys are basically the same freaking guy. Almost. I'm going to go with Trent Miller. I think Trent Miller can knock this guy out, but I don't feel good about it. I just think that between the footwork and the fact that I feel like his striking is just maybe a smidge better than Ryan's. I don't think Ryan's got very good striking. But we'll just have to wait and see how this one plays out. I think it's, like I said, it's really, really hard to have any confidence in either of these guys. And I don't think that either of them are really UFC level. Hopefully they prove me wrong. But nonetheless, I'll always be watching these, you know, and see what kind of talent's coming into the UFC. So I'll check out the weigh-ins and everything, and try to look for angles and stuff. And if I find anything that I think's worth sharing, I'll certainly be getting back on here. Maybe make a quick pick video or something like that. But anyways, good luck to everyone. Enjoy the fights. Peace out.